stunning. It's really aesthetic inside as well. So, if you've not seen the other couple of videos, I will link them in the description. But you don't need to have watched them before this. All the animals, all the chapters are separate from each other. So, let's look at the animal we're going to look at today. A bear. He's standing there, or she is standing there all fluffy, on this golden ground. The bear. So, what I'm going to do is read this really slowly, sensitively. So just sit back and relax and learn about bears with me. Here we go. Sorry if I wobble the camera at all. It's slightly wobbly table. Here we go. The Renaissance poet John Donne had a theory about bears. A bear cub, he believed, is born a solid lump of flesh until its mother bites and licks it into shape. The idea can be traced to Pliny's Historia Naturalis. At first, they seem to be a lump of white flesh without all form, little bigger than ratans, without eyes and wanting hair. Only there is some show and appearance of claws that put forth this rude lump with licking they fashion by little and little into some shape, and nothing is more rare to be seen in the world than a she-bear bringing forth her young. The image appears several times in Donne's work, most memorably as a warning that we must not, in the fever of our love, devour chunks of each other. Love's a bear whelp born, if we o'erlook our love and force it to new strange shapes to take, we and of a lump a monster make. He wasn't alone in loving the image. The playwright George Chapman used it too to describe a half-formed bad idea. Nay, I think he has not licked his whelp into full shape yet. And Shakespeare used the same image of a bear whelp in Henry VI, Part 3. Gloucester is like to a chaos or an unlicked bear whelp. It was the 17th century polymath killjoy Thomas Brown who debunked the theory in his Pseudodoxia that a bear brings forth her young informous and unshapen, which she fashioneth after by licking them over, is an opinion not only vulgar and common with us at present, but hath been of old delivered by ancient writers. Brown offered a rational explanation for the myth. Now, as the opinion is repugnant both unto sense and reason, so hath it probably been occasioned from some slight ground in either. Thus, in regard, the cub comes forth involved in the Carian, a thick and tough membrane obscuring the formation, and which the dam doth after bite and tear asunder. The beholder at first sight conceives it a rude and form a slump of flesh and imputes the ensuing shape unto the mouthing of the dam. Long before the first teddy bear was created in 1902, we have wanted bears around us, in their vast bulk, their beauty, and their teeth. In 1251, Henry III was given a white bear by the King of Norway, a polar bear, which was kept in the tower and allowed to hunt for fish in the Thames. In 1609, an English expedition to the Arctic came across a she-bear and 2 young ones. Master Thomas Weldon shot and killed her. After she was slain, we got the young ones and brought them home into England, where they are alive in Paris Garden. They were put in charge of the Edward Alleyn, one of the great actors of the age, who doubled as the master of the Royal Bears. On New Year's Day 1611, Ben Jonson's The Mask of Oberon was performed before the king, as 16-year-old Prince Henry, pale-faced and exquisitely dressed, rode a chariot onto the stage at Whitehall, driving before him the 2 polar bear cubs. But none lived as closely with their bears as Lord Byron, who, furious that the statutes at Trinity College, Cambridge, forbade him to have a dog in his rooms, bought a bear. He wrote to a friend in 1807, "I've got a new friend, the finest in the world, a tame bear. When I brought him here, they asked me what to do with him, and my reply was, he should sit for a fellowship." They are a species of large and capacious astonishments. The Kodiak brown bear is a prodigy of growth. At birth, a cub weighs less than 500 grams, a small loaf of bread, but can end up by weighing more than 680 kilos. If we grew at the same rate, an adult man would weigh the same as a rhinoceros. Their sense of smell is 100 times better than ours. A polar bear can smell you 30 kilometers off and swim 160 kilometers without stopping to rest. England to France 5 times over without pause. And for those species which hibernate, they can unfurl a powerful slowness within themselves and pass more than 100 days without eating, drinking, or urinating, their heart rates dropping from 40 BPM to just 8 slow beats, drawing one breath every 45 seconds. More astonishing, their bodies become recycling plants, converting urea into protein, and a neat plug forms in the anus, probably to stop them defecating in the den. The bear with the finest origin myth is perhaps the panda. The story is told to children in both China and Tibet that long ago a shepherdess guarding her sheep was joined every day by a panda cub. Back in those early days, all pandas were snow white, and possibly the cub thought the sheep were co-pandas. One day, as the panda cub was gambolling clumsily with lambs, a leopard attacked it. The shepherdess threw herself in front of the panda and was killed. The panda cub and his family came in somber gratitude to the shepherdess's funeral, and out of respect they covered their arms with black ashes, as was the custom. As the funeral went on, they wept, wiping their eyes with their paws and staining them black. As their weeping grew louder, they covered their ears so that they would not have to hear their own sobs. The ash never washed off, and therefore they are forever marked with signs of their love and grief, their ever ongoing fealty to bravery. Bears are so vast that we've used them to make ourselves feel pleasantly congruous. Down by the river in Elizabethan England, alongside the brothels, some very grand, with moats and flags, some much less so, and theatres, peanut sellers and pubs, there were the bear pits. A bear would be chained by its leg or neck to a stake in the middle of the ring, and a pack of dogs set on it. One of Elizabeth I's courtiers was an eager attendee.
Yes.